Yeah. Two things that the Lord, but it's not really rema, no? Well, perhaps it is, no? Last evening, no, I was talking to my wife, and to be honest, not only with you, but even in this recording, no, that I was, ano, no, yung bang being worried about many things. Yan. Yes, Pastor Gerald, good afternoon. Worried about many things, especially in Filipino, Pastor Cherin, we call it Pecha de Peligro, no? That's as actually from Spanish. Pecha means a day, and then peligro is danger. So I think I am already in the Pecha de Peligro, Pecha de Peligro. Uh, and I told my wife, no? I told my wife that it's ironic that I'm worried about many things, and I'm doing a lesson on Matthew 6:33. Seeking first God's kingdom and righteousness. And another thing, no? Just this, I should say a few minutes ago, while I was preparing the lesson, I was trying to complete the lesson rather. And the verse came to me, the text which says, why should be worry about this life? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow nor reap, but your heavenly Father feeds them, no? And then just a few minutes ago, when si Pastor Lito entered sa Zoom, I told him na I haven't eaten my lunch yet, no. Hindi pa ako kumakain. And it's I'm going to teach a lesson about God's provisions. Pero ako, I have not eaten yet. So it's so I told Pastor Lito, wait, muna, break time muna. I have to eat first, no. And he told me when I came back, ang bilis naman. Why have you eaten very quickly? But again, I think naman that yung after this class, no, I will eat again, no. That siguro I will treat myself of yung successfully being able to finish this one. So again, ayan, good afternoon, gentlemen, Si Pastora Elisa cannot join us kasi um, may activity yung anak niya in school. Her daughter has an activity in their school. So she could not join us for today. Ayan. Welcome din, no, Pastor Jordan. Thank you for gracing our invitation. So teka lang. And teka lang, bakit to? Yung mga Okay, this one. Treasure in heaven, storing treasures in heaven, 6:19 to 21. For today, we will discuss verse 19 until the end of chapter 6, no? Which means now we should clap our hands, no? Kasi we're done with two chapters, chapter 5 and then chapter 6. No? So this is welcome to lesson 8. And so sorry. In this passage, so Matthew 6:19 until verse 34, for Carson entitled this section as Kingdom Perspectives, no? So the word kingdom appears 8 times in the Sermon of the Mount. No? That's a lot. Actually, that's a lot. For just 3 chapters, the word kingdom appears once, or in a repeating fashion. And of course, when you say something about treasures or wealth, no, at the back of it is the problem of poverty. Okay, the problem of poverty. I just forgot to note, no, when Scott McKnight published this book, according to him, more than 1 billion people in the world live on less than $1 per day, no? $1 per day. That's roughly 55 or 54 pesos, no? And then about 3 billion live on less than $2 per day, no? This is about living, ha. This is not yung income, ha. This is about living. And so between 12 and 20% of Americans live below what we call our poverty line, with these simple facts on your mind, I'd like you to get up from reading this book and observe what you have, what is accessible to you, and what you and I take for granted. Another way of saying, count your blessings. No? Consider the blessings, look around the blessings that you have. Now, within the Filipino context, no, in 2023, the Philippines had a poverty rate of 15.5%. Talking about treasures and talking about poverty in the Philippines, di ba? That's about 17.54 million Filipinos living in poverty, though this is a significant reduction. According in 1985, no, the poverty rate was almost half of the Filipinos, no? Half of the Filipinos. So when you say 1986, that's 1985 rather, that was a year before the EDSA revolution, or 1 year before we say the rule of Ferdinand Marcos Sr., no? So this is you know, a significant problem yung poverty. And when we talk about the gender, no, over 10 million women live in poverty in the Philippines, no? So if there are 17.54, no, so 7.54 would be men, no, men, and then 10 million of them are women and young children. No? So McKnight, the Jesus we follow seems to have had nothing. Okay, how Jesus was described in a poor position during, or how the gospel authors, no, painted the picture of who Jesus is, no? No, Jesus, he seems to have had nothing. And I remember we talk about this every Christmas Day, that when Jesus was born and Joseph and Mary went to offer the sacrifice, no, of sacrifice of thanks, no, the sacrifice can be, I'm using the word can be a lamb, no, a lamb. I think a goat was allowed, no, a young goat. But in the case of Joseph and Mary, because of their poverty, remember that Jesus was born on a stable on a barn, no? The place where the animals live. And at the same time, when they gave their offering, it was two turtle doves, no? Two turtle doves. So that shows a picture of how deep we can say, no? We can say if we were there present during the time of Jesus, we can see that how difficult, no, life can be for Jesus as well, no? He lived in a dry, hot, and dusty world. What food he ate, he received by fishing, by farming, or by donations, no? The summers were long and filled with famine, causing heat. The houses in places like Capernaum were made of black basalt and were sturdy but hardly cool enough to make life comfortable, no? So to cool off, people waded into the Sea of Galilee. Jesus lived on little. He lived from the generosity of others. He undoubtedly knew, no, some hunger and thirst. At in different cases, he was found asleep, no. So of course, he grew tired, no, about ano, no, yung what he was living on, ano. And so Jesus saw homes every day. So this is in comparison, no? Again, we always think about the issue of why is there so much evil in the world while the righteous, no, are living in difficulty, no, difficult conditions, no. And then for example, the comparison here, Jesus in the observation of Scott McKnight, Jesus saw homes every day from Sepphoris, north of Nazareth, to Tiberias, all the way around to the cities of the Decapolis, where wealthier Jews or Romans had villas, no, yung big estates, no, with walled places, no, walled properties, and plenty of food and entertainment, no. we remember the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, no? How these two individuals in society were hardly being compared, no? And he undoubtedly knew of the heated Roman baths, no? Herod had built at Masada and other locations. These Roman baths, they were, no, heated pa sila, no? With which means there is a ano yun, no? Sustainable means, no? To allow the luxury, no? Allow the luxury of these Roman individuals, no, celebrating life, no? And then he knew what it was to have little and to dwell with those who had even less, while others around him basked in luxury and filled their mouths with delicacies. And so we talk about Carson, D. Carson. The first part of Matthew 6, as we saw in the last chapter, confounds hypocrisy. No? As such, it is largely negative in tone, yet by that negative tone, the positive lesson is driven home. In the pursuit of the righteousness of the kingdom, a man, and a woman as well, must make sure that his specifically religious acts of righteousness, no, are preserved from hypocrisy. Or another way of saying that, yung hypocrisy, any speck or intention of hiding our true selves, no, should be dealt with, no, of course, with the grace of God, no, with the help from the grace of God. I remember in our previous lesson about the Lord's Prayer, di ba? Part of the prayer was that lead us not into temptation. Meaning, by this prayer, allow us to live true lives, no? A life that does not dwell in hypocrisy. A life that stands upon the righteousness, no, that is demanded, no, by God upon human beings, no? So he can best avoid hypocrisy by guaranteeing that his ultimate objective is to please God, no? To please God and be rewarded by Him. Now later we will be talking about yung concept ng basic principle how we can please God, no, and be rewarded. In practical terms, he must eschew all showness in acts of piety. And we have been, no, since we have reached, no, lesson 8, we are already well informed, no, about the problem of hypocrisy, not only even within the church, no, that we should consider of doing something about it. So at stake are the perspectives of the kingdom. Life in the kingdom is not simply a question of crossing one hurdle or passing one test, followed by relative indifference to kingdom norms. Involved, rather, is that deep repentance which willingly orients all of life around these norms. So the second half of Matthew 6, therefore, builds on what has come before. Followers of Jesus not only shun hypocrisy in religious duty, but more positively, they comprehend that all of life is to be lived and all its attitudes are to be formed according to the perspectives of the kingdom. Okay? So again, all, no? So whenever we think, kasi later on we will be talking about Matthew 6:33. The presentation was all these things will be added, no, unto those who seek God's kingdom and righteousness. So what does all mean, di ba? How? Of course, all means every aspect of life, family life, love life, no, yung love life ni Pastor Chirin, no, included, no, yung love life mo. The making decisions, if you have money, how you are going to invest in a business, di ba? If you, for example, sa mga parents dito, with regards to how we, puro tayo lalaki, no? I mean, we are all men here, no? How we treat our spouses, no? Our wife, no? Nahirapan ako dun sa our wives. Kasi, so, Oh, well, but I mean, ano, each man has each own one, each one. So, so we see even our relationship to our wife, our relationship to our children, even yung mga decision making where we plan to live. O kaya whenever I talk to people who are considering, kunyari mga young professionals who are considering to work abroad, no, work abroad. So the question is, are you going there? Do you plan to go there illegally? Or do you plan to cheat your status that in the Philippines you are married, but when you get into the abroad, no, work abroad, you are single, di ba? And do you cheat your age, di ba? So these things we should consider. No? Every aspect of our life should be affected. For those who are working, for those who are young professionals, di ba? How you conduct your work. For students, no, elementary students, high school students, we disciple them, no, how they ought to live as no, Christian students, no, in their own respective schools. So the concept of storing up treasures in heaven, no, from Matthew 6:19 to 21 in the Bible emphasizes focusing on spiritual and eternal values over material possessions, suggesting that true wealth lies in helping others and living a life that honors God. Okay. Whenever we talk about, siguro, some things that I should have added in my lesson, ano. Hindi. Sorry. Something that I should have added in my lesson is that whenever we give to people, whenever we help others, the concept is mathematical, no? When we give something, we lose, di ba? The mathematical equation is that you lost something. So it's subtraction. Merong subtraction, there's something that was lost, no? And sometimes yung lost na yon, di ba, when we help people during an emergency, no? That also includes even yung wallet natin, even your gasoline, no? And sometimes you need to really exert effort, no? So that is why the idea sometimes when we help people, and that also goes back to sa um um 7, perhaps lesson 6, no, that when we give people, sometimes people would abuse, no, would take advantage of our kindness, no, which is also on that matter we should also consider seeking wisdom. But again, to honor God, who can stop, no? Who can stop a person who wants to honor God, no, by sharing his resources, di ba? Talbert found three logia or three teachings, no, in verses 19 to 21, 22 to 23, and then verse 24. So let's talk about the two treasures, no. There is, because there is a prohibition, do not lay up treasures, and there's a command, but lay up treasures in heaven. And then a reason where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And so if we, dito pa lamang class, no, my friends, no, my fellow co-workers and pastors, we really need to look at this, no, kasi yung money can be a big temptation for ministers, di ba? And we perhaps one way or another you have been exposed to the problem of prosperity gospel, di ba? Prosperity gospel. And that it is like no, yung using biblical verses to deceive, no. I would use I am not afraid to use the strong word deceive, no. Deceive is kasi there is sense of manipulation, there is evil gains, no. And it's really unfortunate that some pastors would fall into this temptation, di ba? Apostle Paul reminded Timothy, di ba? The love of money is the root of all evil. And so again, it goes back to the big question, no? Uh, where is your treasure? Where is your heart directed to? Where does your heart find happiness? 'Di ba? And so that the two eyes, no? There is assertion. The eye is the lamp of the body, and then there's an inference or like experimentation, no? If your eye is sound, your whole body will be full of light. Okay? And so the conclusion, if the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So, ito, let's stop for a while. Let's look at the conclusion, no? It's talking about light and then darkness, no? Light and darkness. Light and darkness. And then it said, if it's the text says, if the light in you is darkness, no? So how come the light in you is darkness? Or another way of saying is the 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 concept, the space no within your inner being is full of darkness. Sabi no, how great, no? Or how great are we being consumed, no? Yung consumed is that your passions, your sense of happiness, your objectives, your annual plan, or kasi it's March, no? So we're moving to the next quarter. So your next quarterly plan, what you want to do, how you're going to spend your money. Di ba? Siguro, I do not know if it's fitting, no? I do not know if it corresponds to the concept of light and darkness, no? Kasi right now, or perhaps you already know, no? Yung sa case ng, ano, no? Ito, si, teka lang, ha? Saan ba ito? Why is my prompt not appearing? Oops. There you go. Okay. And yan, another is two masters. Assertion, no one can serve two masters. Either you love the one or be devoted to other. And then the application, you cannot serve both God and Mammon. And let's just say if you are in the middle of this, just ano lang, example lang. I'm not saying that this is actually happening. When you are on the middle of it, there will come a time that you will get tired. And then when you get tired, that is when you are going to make a crucial decision that you will have to abandon one and choose one, no? Choose the other. Okay. So that will be the second part, no? Second part of our lesson for this afternoon, yung itong two masters. Still with storing treasures. The follower of Jesus, that is the one who is committed both to Jesus and to his kingdom vision, and who lets that vision frame all of his life. No, ganda, no? Because Jesus is trying to introduce the vision of the kingdom. And the disciples, though they do not see it yet, they do not see fulfillment. Maybe some. When we talk about the miracles from Jesus, no, how God heals the sick, how God raises the dead. Somehow it speaks about the future, no? And in a way, no, ako naman I believe that one there was either once or twice, no, that I believe, no, you can testify here that you saw or you experience a miracle, no, miracle coming from God. And that I'm trying to use that as an example to channel our minds that God is trying to show some things, no, in the present, no, bits of his majesty, no, though we could not see everything clearly. No, there is this vision that Jesus is trying to show. Okay, and so that it reminds us, it strengthens our ordeals whenever we compare yung yung situation of people who are who are very rich, no, that they would not they would not show accountability. They would not, no, the word treasures here surely involves possessions. But it's not the same as possessions. Instead, it refers to the accumulation of things as a focus of joy. One thing, yeah, just before lunch, no, I was hearing in the radio, no, yun sa aming neighbor. So they are still that there was a person, tricycle driver, no, who found in his passenger seat, of course, the passenger left, that it was a check, no, amounting to 200,000. There's a check and then there's a cash 60,000 pesos, no. And so it was reported that he was no returning, no. He was with the help of the radio announcer. He was returning this the check and the money, no, to the person. And he said the reason that money can be spent, no. Kumbaga, after you spend it, money is gone, but what we've done, no, what we've done for the betterment of someone else, no, is it remains, no, it continues to be the honor, no, remains in that person. And so Charles Tarbert, such treasures are perishable and vulnerable, okay? Fabrics will be consumed by moths, grain by rust, precious stones will be stolen, stolen by thieves, okay? So, ano yun? And then Carlson, even valuables which cannot be corroded or eaten can be stolen. So many treasures of earth are the delight of thieves who break in and steal. Now, we are also reminded that John 10:10, no? That Jesus said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Yes, Pastor Isaac, join us. No? Pastor Isaac is also with us now. Yeah. So many treasures of the earth. And then
Thank you,
actually,
Doc.
yes, hello. So we're talking about Matthew chapter 6, Pastor. Okay. So actually, they dig through and steal, for most homes in ancient Palestine were made of mud brick, which easily succumb to any thief with a sharp tool. And then, by contrast, the followers of Jesus must store up for themselves treasures in heaven, no, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where inflation cannot possibly operate. Inflation, yung problem ng boosted prices, no. So the treasures in question are things which are the result of the divine approval and which will be lavished upon the disciples in the consummated kingdom. These are some texts, although these are from the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha, no? Tobit 4:8, regarding giving one of one's possession says, so you will be laying up good treasure for yourself. And then Sirach 29:10-12, regarding helping a poor man says, lay up your treasure according to the commandments of the Most High. So from this interpretation, this wisdom literature in the book of Sirach, the understanding was that when you give alms to the poor, no, you are obeying the commandments of God, no. And then 4th Ezra 6:5, before those who stored up treasures of faith were sealed. What 4th Ezra is trying to say, there is already the existence of your faith, no, that results in your giving. There is already treasures in your mind, in your heart, no, and that results yung sense of generosity is because, again, the starting point is faith. Again, that is in contrast to the hypocrites, di ba? Yung hypocrites, they wanted to make a show, they wanted to gain attention for themselves, di ba? And then 2nd Baruch 24:1, the treasuries in which are brought together the righteousness of all those who have proven themselves to be righteous. So from the dimension of the author of 2nd Baruch in Second Temple Judaism, giving and helping the poor, no, is a form of righteousness. Okay, is a form of righteousness. Going back to Talbert, the treasure that is laid up in heaven is one's generosity towards others. This has permanence. And I always Siguro ba, ano yan eh, we remember, no, the people that God used, no, to bless us, no, especially when we are in difficult times, no. I remember there was one time when my daddy, but my dad is already in ano, no, with the Lord, no. There was one time that daddy was in the hospital, no. He was in the hospital due to yung fever related to his infections, no, infections. And then we contacted our my cousin, and she was able to release, no, a large amount, no, so soon to help my daddy, no. So these are just examples. I know we yung blessing naman is when we talk about yung blessings coming from God, it is always we give something, and then one day the blessing also returns, no, especially in times of need. No. In contrast, the disciple is commanded to store up treasures that last. And here treasures move from things we value that are temporal to things we value that are moral and eternal. Okay? So Jesus uses typical merit language when he uses treasures. Still with McKnight, I do not think that Jesus is condemning all wealth. Okay? So that is a clarification of our discussion today. Any more than he is condemning all clothes. He is not prohibiting things, but the love of things. Okay? Not money, but the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Jesus forbids us from making mere things our treasure. And then later on, we will see how the problem about having two masters is associated with idolatry, no? Storing things up as if they had ultimate importance. And we all also remember the parable of the rich fool, right? That he was storing barns. Perhaps it was a day of a plentiful harvest for him, and he was boasting to himself, no, that there's a lot of harvest today, and what shall I do? My barns, I'm going to tear it down and build their barns, no. But the response was, you are fool, you are a fool, no. This very night, no, your life will be taken from you. So that is how ano no how the portrait that we were born, yung what Job said, no, we were born naked and then we will return to the Lord naked, or we brought nothing into this world, no, we will also live nothing except our very lives, no. So this means we are led to ask what lasts. So what are the things that last? What are the things that we should consider, especially later on when we talk about seeking God's righteousness and kingdom, no? or there should be God's kingdom and righteousness, no? So we can begin to focus on the eternal if we live to love God and others. So according to Scott McKnight, and I think this is a good start, no, that we go back to the great commandment. That is the great commandment. Love the Lord your God, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So in this manner, no, when we give to the Lord, no, the Lord sees, or rather, sometimes the question would be, when we give to the Lord, people would say, the Lord knows what was in excess. Okay, what was in excess? You give something that was in excess, no? But on the other side, when we give to the Lord in difficult times, no, we give to the Lord, and then the Lord knows what was left. What was left? What was because of our desire to please God, to honor God, even in difficult times, no? Napunta tuloy tayo sa giving, sorry. So offering offering now, no. So if we pursue justice as the way we are called to love others as God's creations, if we live out a life that drives for peace, as how loving people treat one another. And if we strive for wisdom, no, this wisdom we seek wisdom and knowledge from God. Again, this is not for ourselves, no. This is how we can use our wisdom and knowledge in order in consideration of others like that. So Jesus commonly urges his followers to live in the light of life after death or the age to come. Something that we look forward to. So the treasures of the new heaven and new earth are wonderful beyond our wildest expectation. Allow me yung reference dun sa Book of Revelation that when the Apostle John saw the holy city, di ba? The New Jerusalem, and it was covered with huge, huge precious stones, and yung the presence of God, that there was no longer sun, because the radiance of God was the one that gives, of course, when say radiance, light and heat, no, to so it's really something to look forward to, no. Sometimes the pages of scripture give us glimpses couched in glittering metaphor, as the resources of language are called up to tell us of things still barely. Something that I mentioned a while ago about witnessing miracles, no, miracles and other amazing things, no, that the Lord does for his children. At other times, scripture extrapolates the advanced days we enjoy here, pictures love undiluted, a way of life utterly sinless, integrity untarnished, work and responsibility without fatigue, deep emotions without tears, worship without restraint or disharmony or sham, and the best of all, the presence of God. Now, Revelation 21, and I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people. So this is again one of the promises. No? Will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Jesus' grounding argument is that what we value, no, the things, our treasures, the good things in life, no, which are measured by where and on what we spend our energies, no, indicates where our heart or the center of our passion is. And then Scott McKnight remembered Joseph of Arimathea, no? When Jesus died, he though rich and a disciple had the treasure centered on Jesus. In contrast, the rich young ruler had treasure centered on possessions and not on caring for the poor. Which is why when Jesus said, you sell your possessions and give it to the poor, according to Luke, the face of the young man became sad and he went away. No, he had already he already had the opportunity because he was in front of the King of Kings, no, and the Lord of Lords, but he wasted the opportunity. No? For he chose yung riches niya, no? And the disciples who left family and economic social security to follow Jesus. So illustrate Jesus' point about treasures, we remember also Zacchaeus, who after experiencing the Lord Jesus, he made a pledge, no? Or he made the declaration that he will help the poor and live an honest life. Okay. Now the eye as light of the body. So lamps give off light. In this image, Jesus says the eye is something through which light passes onto objects. Such a view of how humans could see was widespread in the ancient world, and there were two theories, the intromission and extramission. What are these things? No? That is, did the eye permit light to enter the body? Yung light, outside light, coming into the body. Okay, that's intromission. And then, or did it send light out from inside, going out? Extramission, or we remember what Jesus said about when he was criticized about the washing of hands, no, before they eat. And Jesus said, it is not what enters the body that makes a person unclean. Rather, it is that which is inside the person's body that comes out. No, it is what makes a person unclean. So with Carlson, it is possible that this thought has its roots in the preceding paragraph. If so, the eye is the lamp of the body in the sense that it enables the body to find its way. Your eye must be good in order for it to direct your whole body. If your eye is good, then the whole body follows. Okay? So the whole body does what is good because it is what can be found in your eyes. Is it possible that this thought has sorry. So some verses, no, Deuteronomy 15:9, lest your eye be hostile to your poor brother, and you give him nothing. So this is a perspectival, no? A perspectival eye. How do your eyes, no, look at a poor brother, a person who is suffering? How do you look at him, no? So we remember yung discussion sa James, no? In James, it says chapter 2, it's like in Filipino, kawawa ka naman, or how pitiful your condition is. And then says, God bless you, no? But he does not, that he declares a shalom, that God bless you, but it does not give help. No? Tobit 4:7, give alms from your possessions to all who live uprightly, and do not let your eye begrudge the gift when you make it. Sirach 14:9, a greedy man's eye is not satisfied with the portion. So that is an eye that is unrighteous, no? An eye that is not living in accordance with the kingdom and righteousness of God. And then sa verse 10, a stingy man's eye begrudges bread. Okay. So these are parallels in Sirach chapter 14 verse 9 to 10. A greedy man and then a stingy man. These verses provide the inferences. The positive inference is that if your eye is sound, no, your whole body will be full of light. In ancient Judaism, a sound eye is a generous eye. I think we already discussed that. A generous intent or disposition. So, Proverbs 22:9, he that has a good eye, in the Masoretic text, the literal is Masoretic text. But in the Greek version of Proverbs 22:9, it becomes, he that pities or shows mercy to the poor. That is how the Septuagint, the Greek authors translated yung good eye from the Masoretic. Testament of Benjamin, the good man has no dark eye, for he has pity on all. Seemingly, it resounds yung how dark, how dark is your, or how is your light darkness, no? Berakochabat, a beautiful eye is a generous eye. The negative inference, if your eye is not sound, your whole body will be full of darkness. Deuteronomy 15:9, eye that becomes evil to one's brother is a disposition not to give what is needed by the brother. So, Deuteronomy 15:9 is an eye that is a selfish eye. An eye that does not want to help, no? An eye who cares only for oneself. Sirach 14:8, evil is the man with a grudging eye, no? And then Matthew 20:15, or is your eye evil because I am good, no? So it has something to do with the parable, di ba? So this, yung eye as a lamp, these examples, no, perhaps this is already something that we could teach, no? How do we see, how do we care for our eyes, no? That's another, that's very metaphorical, no? How do we care for our eyes? And then suddenly I remember yung sa yung an eye that looks lustfully, which was in the previous lessons, di ba? Do not look upon a person with lust, di ba? So again, it is still consistent, no? Kasi there will be what we call evil intentions, no, associated to the I. Dale Allison, once one sees that our saying is a sort of riddle that can be read on two different levels, as a statement either about vision or about moral principles, then it becomes obvious that the healthy eye of 622 has double meaning. It refers not only to the physical eye but also to the moral intention. Again, so I think this is the third time we find this. In Judaism, good eye meant generosity. And although light is sometimes an eschatological hope, looking towards and beyond, no? God's children are even now illuminated by the light, no? By the light. Ano ba tong way na to? And they possess wisdom which is light. No? Indeed, the righteous are sometimes even called light. And we remember that when we are called to be light of the world, no? And so, light, I, the living world, so, and then give glory to God. These are all connected in the context of the Sermon of the Mount. It is light that determines the direction of all their activities. They walk in the light of the Lord. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 5. And then alternatively, it is possible to interpret verses 22 in a somewhat simpler fashion. The whole body, that is the whole person, is pictured as a room or a house. Okay? So there is an interior. We will look, later we will look at the concept of an interior from a Filipino perspective, no? The whole body, that is the whole person, is pictured as a room or a house. The purpose of the eye is to illuminate this room, to ensure that it is full of light. The eye thus serves as the source of light. We might think of a window in an otherwise windowless room, although in fact, Jesus uses the figure of a lamp, not a window. Let us talk about the Tagalog or the Filipino word kalooban. Okay? Siguro yung situation, the noun loob literally means inside, as in loob ng bahay, inside the house, no? Or loob ng bote, inside the battle. Loob refers to the inner person or inner self, as opposed to lamang loob or the internal organs, no? The physical ones that you see in the body. In the vocabulario de la lengua Tagala, loob or kalooban is translated as voluntad or will. So these Spaniards interpreted the kalooban of a person as will, the capacity to make decisions, no, or the trust, no, where a person makes a decision. Loob is the inner self, the core of one's personhood, and where the true worth of a person lies, in contrast to labas. Labas means outside, loob is inside. Loob is basically interpersonal. Considers the kapwa. Kapwa is a fellow human being and is manifested through external behavior. The late priest Dionisio Miranda describes loob as human interiority, the core of a person's consciousness. In general, he believes that it's hard to separate the Christian faith from the Filipino understanding of loob. Okay? Christian tradition has shaped the morality of most of the beliefs and cultures of the Filipinos. This tradition became the basis for determining what is humane, makatao, and what is right and wrong, tama at mali. Okay? These decisions are made in a person's loob, in a person's kalooban. So the Christian tradition also guides and affects the decisions processed in a person's loob. Miranda calls this ethos a psychomoral reality. So loob, from the Spanish rendering, vocabulario de la lengua Tagala, is the will. Now Miranda has the psycho, which is the loob includes the following aspects. Malay, meaning awareness, you are conscious of what's happening around you. Dama, the feeling. Isip, reasoning, and the thinking, and then bait, or the moral sense, and then kalooban, which is will. So loob, from the description of Dionisio Miranda, captures everything, no? Captures everything in the activities of the human being, except na lang for action. Okay? Except for physical action. So Mercado held that the Filipino loob similar to the concept of the inner person found in neighboring Asian countries. So this is from my dissertation that I did a survey that the concept of the loob or kalooban in the Filipino perspective similarities with the Chinese, Japanese, in India perhaps, no, the Pastor Cherin is with us, no, so they have this similar concept. And even for the Thai and my classmate who is Indonesian, I sent a message to my classmate who was an Indonesian scholar by the name of Dwi, and she said that they also have that concept, no. So it is similar to the worldview of Asian neighbors. Job Jim Aguas declares the world or reality is seen as a whole where everything, the physical, spiritual, and divine is an integral part of reality. That is how Filipinos and perhaps even Asians and people in Africa, no? Of course, that it is good Pastor Isaac is also with us, no, to represent his continent, no? So even the self is regarded not as a totally separate entity but an integral part of the world. That the loob or the kalooban is not really distinct. It is connected with everything, no? So if you're familiar with Star Wars, no, it's like the Force. But again, there's no, I don't want to get in trouble, no, talking about the Force here. So loob and kapwa, no? So loob now introduce another word, kapwa, or means fellow being. In the Filipino conception, one's loob cannot be treated in isolation. This is in contrast to how the Western philosophers and theologians see the concept of an individual. Okay? The concept of an individual. I think that was the Descartes, no, René Descartes yata, that has something to do with the philosophy of yung individualism. No. So rather one's love is always interconnected with the love of one's fellow being. That is a community or community consciousness, okay? Community consciousness. He says, loob needs kapwa even to be loob. Its continued responding to kapwa is the condition for its own existence and authenticity as loob. No? So we remember maxims such as no one is an island. So there is really the need for or the compulsion for us to correspond with our fellow human beings. That is the concept of the kapwa, okay? Furthermore, one's loob cannot be isolated from other people for it engages with their kapwa. Decisions that we make today are often something to do with the decision of our wives, our children, family members, so what they think and how we also take care of our own image, no? Yung image, how we are thought by others, okay? So the quality of the love of a person can also be observed by how that person relates to others. This connection to relational quality was well expressed by si Levi Lanaria when he said, if any person has been showing repeatedly signs of remarkable kabutihan, that's goodness, to their kapwa, in time, they will describe that person as magandang loob. Meaning, if that person habitually does what is right, what is proper, the what we call the response or the impression from others will say that this person is magandang loob. This person has a beautiful interior, no, inner beauty. If the person is oftentimes unkind, on the other hand, no, if the person is insulting, the person is always angry, selfish towards others, people will eventually describe that person as possessing masamang loob. Masama means evil. The interior, the loob of that person is filled with corruption. Now let's talk about ganda, loob and ganda. Ganda means beauty or mabuti. Anything that is done in righteousness is considered beautiful. So when it is used to describe loob, it becomes kagandaang loob, which is literally inner beauty, but means the goodness of a person's heart. Do not forget that we are talking about the eye, no? The eye that is considered as a lamp of the body, no? When persons are praised for good deeds, they are described as mabuti or maganda ang kalooban. There is beauty in their inner person, no? In the inner person. On the other hand, the word sama, bad or evil, may be used to characterize either a person's moral behavior or about being emotionally disturbed. The phrase can be used as masamang loob, he is a bad person, or to describe a person's anger or disappointment. Sumama ang loob ko sa kanya. No? So sama is used as a means of like there is chaos or there is something, there is a heat that is boiling up, no, inside the person. He made me angry. Now going back to Carson, so you could see that the parenthesis, no, I supplied the parenthesis here, no. So I'm trying to synthesize the work of Carson with my material, no. For the individual to be full of light, then the eyes, kalooban must be good, mabuti. If they are bad, meaning masama, if their flame is smoky, di maayos, it's disorderly, no? Or their glass cake with soot, if their wick is untrimmed or their fuel depleted, the person remains in utter darkness. Nasa kadiliman. Dilim means darkness, no? Clearly, it is important to discover just what Jesus means in non-metaphorical terms by demanding that the eye be good. Okay. So again, it is so easy to talk about this, but the real challenge is how can we help our eyes to become good? How can we help our Christian leaders in the church to have good eyes? No? So I'm using that in a metaphorical sense. Still with McKnight, if your eyes, kalooban are healthy, perhaps generous, matulungin, maawain, or you are merciful, no? Your whole body is full of light. But this might suggest the eye is a window of the soul through which light, kaliwanagan, passes into the body. And so that light, that what you just done, no, it shines in you. So it goes back to our previous text that Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." It is the result of the magnificence of what your inner being is trying to project, and other people are able to witness what you are doing and how you are connecting or helping others to experience the shalom from God. Verses 19 to 20 are less concerned with financial wealth and giving it away than with a man's scale of values whereby he establishes what is his ultimate treasure. Okay. Similarly, verse 24 is not so much focused on money as it is on servitude and commitment. Okay? discussion break. Okay, while you're thinking, we have two lessons after this, no, yung serving two masters. So we will be talking about serving two masters. And then the last will be yung therefore, yung ano no, yung um uh seek first, no, God's kingdom and righteousness. But how about this one? This particular lesson, we have something to do with the light or dualisms, light and darkness that is in a person's body.
Sir,
Yes,
good
Pastor
afternoon.
Gerald.
Yeah, actually looking at, I'd like to reflect on verses 22, 23, and 24, the I that we have been talking about, no? And looking at at the whole, actually natapos siya hanggang 24, the whole sentence. No, no, no. Meron pala, on the 23, ano ba, verse 23. And, um, it is actually concerned about a person, what a person sees, um reflects reflects, comes inside you, and then this, if you're consumed by so much bad things that you've been consuming, it affects you. It affects your reasoning. It affects who you are. Kaya
Yes.
nga 'di ba, I don't know, I don't know if you have experienced it, but having received the grace of God, whenever we see movies, before, when we were not born again Christians yet, parang we don't mind it, hearing curse words on the
Mm.
television, something like that.
Mm.
And lustful scenes, those things, no. Parang we're actually being entertained by that.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, when the Holy Spirit dwells in us, you see all of this, all of the script on whatever we see, even we hear. Parang we would tend to, we are not we are actually offended, no? Whenever some of our friends, our old friends from probably elementary or high school or college, no, who used to parang isa singko yung mura, something like that, no? But curse words are really so cheap, no? They would really say a succession of words in cursing. And it would really drain you, or sometimes napapaka-cringe ka, or you're really affected by it. And, so I guess this is what the Lord is trying to tell Quiz Original here, and even up to now, to leave us really being sensitive, or being choosy. Being careful on what comes in. Parang ano nga ito, 'di ba, sa computer, garbage in, garbage out, eh. 'Di ba? And this actually made me think dun sa verse 23, when it says there, if then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness.
Mm.
When looking at this, no, parang I'm looking, this is as if, I don't know if my understanding is correct here. When Jesus said, if then the light in you is darkness, meaning that what we consider light is actually darkness, is actually wrong.
Mm.
And how great is the darkness, because you are you are not aware that what you're doing is actually against God's will.
Yes, yes.
Actually darkness.
Oo nga.
So this is actually where the danger is, eh. Kasi you're conforming to the world because this is this is the normal thing that's happening around us. And if you don't do it, you are now being canceled.
Parang ano, Pastor Gerald,
Kasi,
there is a confusion, no?
mm,
You confuse
oo,
light with darkness, no? Meron confusion. Sige, sige.
yes. Oh, but then yun nga para bang if you think that you are looking at it as light, but actually this is
Kaya
darkness.
nga, kaya nga.
Then how great is the darkness because you're not aware
Oo,
of
oo.
the devastation of that darkness. Eh.
Yeah.
So that's how it is.
Oo. So we really, siguro, another input, no, what Pastor Gerald saying is the importance for brotherly rebuke, no? No? So there is really a need for accountability, someone who is checking on you. But of course, not to dishearten you, not to put you into shame, no? Yan na lang, talk with you secretly. You go into a room, di ba? Like in the concept of a prayer. Na brother, no, I want to help you, but I think, no, I believe what you're doing is wrong, no. Kasi so ano, so, of course when a person listens, doon naman yung laging the blessings come in, no? When a person realizes that the darkness the light is in me is darkness pala. So thank you for helping me realize that once again. So thank you, Pastor Gerald. Others po.
Sir, gusto ko na kasi same lang ako yung sasabihin ko eh. With,
Yes, carry on.
if yun nga, if you're mistakenly, di ba, na yung light na eminent sa'yo would be darkness. Tapos if it applies sa church, how would someone, kunyari pastors, can be corrected by, for example, someone na really see or so yung ginagawa ng pastors na mali. Just one thing, if wala siyang accountability, for example, they have this senior pastor as independent church, wala siyang really someone to look up to, for example, then how can they see themselves, if ever, or check themselves uh, right with God? Tapos, binalikan ko lang yung verse 22, no? One thing is for sure, a healthy eye stays fixed on God. That's one. If your eyes are fixed on other things, definitely, you know na this one. So, that one siguro will be a parang gauging factor if you are imitating the light of God or the other way around. I have this question pa eh. Natuwa nga rin ako dito eh.
Sige lang, carry on, pass.
Yung last ko sa 24, medyo natawa rin ako dito eh, when I was reading kasi parang no one can serve two masters for you will hate one and love one other. You will devote to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and be slave with money. The question would be, if ever you would ask, can you honestly say that God and not money is your master? So in
Pastor, that will be our next lesson.
sorry. Okay.
So, ano,
sorry.
after this one, we will be talking about yung serving two masters. Kaya,
sorry.
I pray na while we are talking about it, you find your answer from the lecture.
So yeah, that's one doc for me.
Sige. Kasi it's very important. Thank you, Pastor Slim. So, others, no? Si Pastor Jordan, si Pastor Lito, Pastor Cherin, and even Pastor Isaac.
Ako po.
Yes po, Pastor Lito.
Doon nga sa eye, yung sa 22, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. Katulad natin pinag-aaralan, ang mata ay window lang papunta sa puso. Pero nag-uugat lahat ito, the way kung anong klaseng puso meron ka. Kung mabuti yung puso mo, kung malinis yung puso mo, sigurado yung mata na meron ka na papapasukin mo sa iyo is good. Ginamit lang yung mata, pero lahat yan nag-uugat sa puso. The way kung paano ka tumingin, the way kung paano mo nakikita ang bagay, nag-uugat lahat sa puso yan. Yun lang yung ano eh, parang ano, ikaw lang yung magbibigay, ikaw lang din yung magdidistinguish the way kung anong klase ng puso mo. Kasi po pwede naman makakita ng isang magandang bagay kahit sa pangit na pangyayari. Hahanapin mo ang isang positibo. Pero kung talagang marumi ang puso mo, talagang lagi mong hinahanap masama, kahit maganda yan, wala kang
Yes,
makikita.
yes. Kung marumi ang puso,
Yes,
even it's beautiful,
yes.
it still end up bad, no?
Opo.
It still end up bad. Thank you. Yes, Pastor Lito. Gano'n yun. Good. Thank you, sir. Good observation. Ayun. Pastor Cherin, I think you unmuted, no? Pastor Cherin. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And the term, the darkness in the body. So my insights about this was, so what is darkness in the body? Like when my shifts away from God, and when I become consumed with worldly concerns and worldly things and the sinful desires or selfish ambitions, um, or darkness begins to creep in. So it is the darkness in the body. So it is my insight, sir, about the darkness in the body.
Yes. Yes, thank you. And suddenly I was reminded about yung sa Galatians 5, no? Yung the fruit of the spirit. And in comparison, the sins of the flesh, according to Paul to the Galatians, the sins of the flesh are obvious, no? So there is a list there which describes yung this is a good description of what it is to have a bad eye, no? And on the other one is yung the fruit of the spirit, which is this shows yung goodness that comes from yung the light of the world, no? Or the light as a working of the Holy Spirit, no? In a person's life. Okay. So I will now move over to our next lesson about having two masters.